Okay. Let me give a short intro here. Hello everyone, this is the 5th Epical Revelation Fellowship. This is July 21st, 2013. I'm Dr. Roger Paul, at least I was when I got up this morning. We're going to continue studying this afternoon. We had one study this morning on the forward. Now we're going to start paper 119 of the Urantia Book. This is the paper right before the life of Christ. This sets us up for the life of Christ. And we're going to start here and go all the way through the life of Christ on 1 o'clock every Sunday afternoon. And this is paper 119. It starts on page 1308 of the Urantia Book. We're going to go for exactly 1 hour, and then we're going to quit today. And we'll take it up from wherever we get today. And let's say a little prayer to get started. And Dawn, would you say a little prayer for us to get started?
Dear Father, watch over us, protect us, enlighten us, lead us ever closer to understanding of truth, beauty, and goodness. Namaste.
Amen. Okay, and Rodney's joining us online through Skype, so I believe I'll let Rodney start out today reading. And read loud, Rodney, because I don't know how well you're going to.
Because you're in a box.
You're in a box. So. Oh,
Hey,
before you do that, let me go through this first slide. I forgot to even put it up here. Again, today, like this morning, you'll see this is in yellow, and I have a few slides throughout this presentation on each chapter on information that is informative about whatever the subject we're studying about. And again, I want to give credit to Don Estes for the slides we pulled for his presentation for this, and also for the creator of Encyclopedia Urantia, which almost all the slides come from, for their contribution. And this is this version that you're seeing online here, on the presentation, is the one from the foundation. And we also have the forward, the Urantia Book over here from the fellowship that we can pull up if we need to look at something. Right now I have it on the forward, but we can change that here in a few minutes. Let's do this. Let's go back. Oops, wrong one. Go back here.
Page 4.
Yeah, that's the 4. Then we go to paper 119. There we go. So we have both versions up here that we can look at if we need to look something up. Okay, so before we get started, I'd like to go over this short synopsis. And actually, I'm going to let somebody else. Rodney, I'm going to let you read when we start the book. I'm going to let somebody here read this. You want to read that? Can you read that? Yeah.
A synopsis of paper 119, Bestowals of Christ Michael. The ability for bestowals is an inherent gift of the Creator Sons. Divine Sons learn to become sympathetic, merciful, and understanding sovereigns by incarnating as lower beings. It is so important that a Creator Son understand the perspective of even the lowest of his creatures, that he must actually become a being of this realm 7 times. Creator Sons are never certified as sovereigns of the local universes by the Ancient of Days, until they have acquired creature viewpoint through actual experience.
Okay, let's talk about that for a minute. Okay, this is what we're going to study in this paper, and that's why I put this synopsis on. It gives us an overview, and then as we go through it, we'll understand it better. The first thing I want to point out is this bestowal process that Christ Michael went through. And we all know that Christ Michael was Jesus of Nazareth when he was incarnate as a human. Okay, so this is before he became a human, right? This is what happened before he became a human. So what they're talking about here is this bestowal process. All Creator Sons do this, all 700,000 of them, right? So this thing that Christ was doing, going through these bestowals, is the same thing that every Creator Son since the beginning of time has done. Okay, it's nothing new. What pattern did they take this after? The original Son, the Son of God, the second person of deity, did the same thing that he bestowed himself, but he did it on the circuits of Havona. That's the only difference. Okay? So he went through the 7 levels of Havona rather than going through the 7 beings. Alright, so all creator sons bestow themselves in every type of being that they create. Starting at the top, moving down. And you're going to see as we go through this, this is the order of creation of these sons also. So when he became a Melchizedek son, that was one of the first beings that he created. Okay? When he became a Lenonidek son, that was the next level down that he created. When he became a material son, that's a next level down. So he's going down in progression until he gets to the lowest level, which is what? Finite, right? Okay, so the whole point of this is all these creator sons go through these 7 bestowals, 7 times, and then they become certified by whom? The Ancients of Days. And they become what? Master Creator Sons. And when they become Master Creator Sons, that gives them the right to go out into the outer space levels and continue their work.
And to have full sovereignty of their
And
own
to have
universe.
full sovereignty of their own local universe.
As well as the creator mother.
As well as the Creator Mother Spirit. How does the Creator Mother Spirit work in this? She upholds his universe while he's going through this process. She has to maintain the local universe exactly as it is. Now how does she do this? She takes on a role of a mother-father, in essence, right? What else happens? The Union of Days, which is Emmanuel, steps in and takes the titular head of the universe in place of the Creator Son, so that if anything needs a physical type being like Michael is, he does that in his place. So 7 times Emmanuel has to take over Christ's role in his place. And you remember that we've talked about this before, that Emmanuel's number is what? 611,121, right? Which is the same number as what? Christ. It's the same number as the creative Mother Spirit. Okay? So all 3 of these beings were created literally at the same time.
To work together.
To work together. That's right. And that's how the process works. And it works the same in every every local universe. So he's done this just like all 699,999 other ones have. Okay, so let's keep going. Would you take the next one, Roy? The second paragraph?
Michael of Nevedon, our local universe sovereignty, is the 611,121st of his order to achieve approval of the Ancient of Days for local universe sovereignty. Michael made his first bestowal nearly 1 billion years ago and embarked on a new bestowal mission every 1,500,000.
Right.
Michael's 7 incarnations in Nevedon were as
Yeah, let's get the first one.
a Melchizedek son, during which he displayed masterly wisdom and superb devotion to duty.
Okay, so for every 150 or 1,500,000 years, he did a new bestowal. So it took how long for him to do this? Almost 1 billion years. Right?
Taking his time.
Yeah. So there's no big hurry in getting this done, was there? Okay, so this is the time of the universe. They don't get in a hurry to do nothing. You know, our little time period is not like a grain of sand. Okay. I'll take the next ones and then we'll go on to the slides. Lenonidek's son, serving as a temporary... Oh, well, let me mention Melchizedek's son first. Melchizedek's son is one of the first beings that's created after a universe son like Michael becomes a creator. The first one is what? He creates Gabriel. Right? The bright morning star, right? And then the father Melchizedek, right? Okay, shortly after that, the whole line of Melchizedeks are created, right? Then what comes next is what? The evening stars, right? And we're going to find out here in a minute, the chief of the evening stars, Galvalia, is the one that's telling this story. Okay? So we got 2 important people involved with this. Okay? a non-index sun is a local universe sun, isn't it? It's one of the lines that Christ created. The non-index sun is the same line that who came from? Lucifer, right? They become the system sovereigns. They become the planetary princes, right? There's primary and secondary non-index suns, and then there's the Verandadec order, which is underneath them, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then there's material sun. Who's the material sons? The Adam and Eve. Right, that's right. And then the seraphim. Now who creates the seraphim? The creative mother spirit, right? So he's involved with that also. So he has to do not only the what? His line of sun creator, but her line of sun creation too, right? So you get both parts. Then also he was an ascendant mortal on the spirit status on Uversa. This on Uversa, where's that at? That's at the super universe level, right? Okay, and then of course he was a Urantia mortal in constellation number 5. And what's the Urantia? That's what we become when we leave here. And then finally the 7th one was what? That's human, right? So this kind of gives us a look at we're going to study, what's to come.
So he only did one lower level.
No, he didn't. He did one finite level.
That's what I mean,
two.
finite level.
Yeah, 2. The mortal and the Urantia. Right?
Okay.
Okay. Well, actually, all these are finite levels if you think about it, because all of this is within the finite, the super universe level, right? Okay. But close to mortal, he did 1. You could say 2 because the Urantia is just the next step after mortal. If you think about it, right? But he had to bestow himself in every type of created being that he creates. You see that?
Yeah.
Or similar.
Or stage.
In every
Or stage.
Yeah, it's stage. That's the word, right?
That's
That stage.
us.
That's right.
Moving forward.
Moving forward. And the others are what? Local universe beings, right? So he gains experience. Think of it this way. He gains experience just like the Supreme gains experience through our experience, right? That's why he's so closely connected to the Supreme. Now, when they go out to the outer space levels, who's he associate with? He associates with the Supreme, right? Because that's his association from the finite on to the absonite, okay? Makes sense, doesn't it? I mean, it makes perfect sense. You can almost understand why he did do this. He gains sympathy, he gains knowledge, he gains experience. So when he has these beings come before him, he's experienced it himself.
He knows what it's like to be
He knows what
on
it's
this
like.
planet.
That's right. He knows exactly.
So, but in that process, though, passing from, so he only experienced like death maybe one time, and that the rest of them is
Right.
And that was on our level.
That's on our level, right.
Okay.
And he only experienced the horrors of finiteness on what planet?
Here.
This planet.
Urantia.
Right.
Yeah.
But it didn't have to be.
It didn't have to
It
be
didn't
that
have to be
way.
that way.
Other creator
He could have been
son,
here a long time if we'd allowed him to be.
yeah,
They
Or he
had
could have
that
left.
room.
or he could have
Right.
left anytime he chose
Right,
to.
right after he dealt with
He
After
was done.
after the baptism, he was finished, right? And he chose to go through everything after that.
It's just a shame that the Jewish people didn't recognize him for who he was and listen.
Yeah,
Well, we still don't today, for the most
That's
part.
right.
that's right. They're still.
Everything got messed up.
Yeah.
Just like with Adam and Eve.
Well,
We
yeah.
thought they have a plan, but if it doesn't get followed, then things go
But think
awry.
how far that story is
Just deal
off,
with
though.
this-
Adam and Eve. Yeah, I mean,
Wow,
it's-
just grasping that concept of, and in my own life, I'm just talking from where I come from, because I've always kind of been trying to figure out what Eve ate that, what kind of fruit was that?
She
So I
ate
could,
an apple. And I've eaten a lot of them. And I haven't felt guilty.
well, they think
about
it was a
yet.
citron. They don't know for sure, but
But it really doesn't have anything to do with
it has nothing to do.
It,
with
it has nothing.
No.
And Lucifer, the whole thing. That's what I'm saying. It's
The
like
whole story got skewed.
exactly.
Well, wait just a minute. in symbolism,
In symbolism,
yes,
did.
it has
Yeah,
very
yeah,
much to
symbolic.
do with the real story. In symbolism, if
Yeah.
you think about it symbolically.
And you have to remember, you're talking about a group of Bedouins trying to pass down a story generation to generation with no written law.
Right.
Okay, so you got a group of men that pass these things down from family to family to family to family over thousands of years, not 8,000 years ago. We're talking about 39,000 years ago, right? So
Right.
these stories went, and finally Moses comes along, or people coming after him comes along and decide, we need to write this down, you know? And they eventually do. So they wrote down what was passed to them over generation after generation. So you can't really blame the people that tried to write it down, you know, because they didn't have the real story. But what they did get is the essence of the story, even as badly as it was
Yeah, that's
changed.
right.
So you know, that's part of what we read this morning. The confusion on our planet, and them trying to straighten out these concepts we have of deity and that sort of thing, and that's all part of this, right? It all comes back to this, and what Christ was doing, right? So let's keep moving. We'll get to the first section here. We're going to get started on the paper. All right. Okay, Rodney, you want to take the first paragraph there?
All right. Okay, I've got a number of issues here, so bear with me.
Okay.
This is page 1308, right?
Right. Paper 119, The Bestowals of Christ Michael.
The Bestowals of Christ Michael, Chief of the Evening Stars of Nebadon. I am assigned to Urantia by Gabriel on the mission of revealing the story of the 7 bestowals of the universe sovereign, Michael of Nebadon, and my name is Gabalia. In making this presentation, I will adhere strictly to the limitations imposed by my commission.
Okay.
The attribute.
No, wait. Stop there, Rodney. We're only doing one paragraph at a time.
All right.
Okay. The chief of the evening stars. Which is who? Gabalia, right? Who's the chief of the morning stars? The bright morning stars. Gabriel.
Gabriel.
Right? So we have 2 of the heads of our local universe right here. Right? Gabriel is the chief executive. Gavalia is the chief of the bright morning stars, which is the whole, evening stars, the whole host of angels, right? Okay? And it is Gavalia who is relating the story. Now, why would they pick the head of a local universe group of angels to tell this story? They want it right, don't they? They want you to
Beings that
know
were actually there and
the
know
beings
what's going on.
were there, they experienced it. This is first-hand knowledge, right? As they say, I know of where I speak, and he does, right? That's why they chose him. So you think about this paper 119. Is this an important paper?
Yes.
We've got the head of our local universe group of angels telling us this. This isn't some Joe Blow that they picked out and said, hey, would you tell this story? You know? So this is very important. Okay? All right, so let's go to the next paragraph here. Linda, you want to take it from there?
Pardon me?
Linda?
I think he started reading.
Oh, did you want to say something, Rodney?
Oh, I was going to continue reading.
No, we're doing one paragraph at a time each.
Oh, right, okay.
Okay.
The attribute of bestowal is inherent in the Paradise Sons of the Universal Father. In their desire to come close to the life experiences of their subordinate living creatures, the various orders of the Paradise Sons are reflecting the divine nature of their Paradise parents. The Eternal Son of the Paradise Trinity led the way in this practice, having 7 times bestowed himself upon the 7 circuits of Havona during the times of the ascension of Grand Fanda, and the first of the pilgrims from time and space. And the Eternal Son continues to bestow himself upon the local universes of space in the persons of his representatives, the Michael and Avonal Sons.
Okay, so there it is. The Eternal Son did the same process, right? On the circuits of Havona. And that was in the times of Grand Fonda. Grand Fonda was the very first ascending person through Havona. Okay?
Roger?
Yeah.
I've always had a question about that. Did Grand Fonda ascend from the first super universe?
Yeah, he actually ascended from Havona, the central super universe.
Oh, ascended from Havana.
I stand corrected on that, Rodney. You're right. It was the first super universe,
Okay.
I believe.
So
Right?
the first human.
Yeah,
Or the
first,
super universe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
yeah,
Not
first number one.
not Havona, but he ascended through Havona.
So while Grand Fanda was on Havona, the Eternal Son was
Bestowing himself. That's right. But he came from the super universe number one. Right.
Okay.
He was the first pilgrim to make it to Havona.
I got a question on that. Now, being that we're in the 7th universe, and I might ask this question before, do we transcend all 6 universes?
No, we transcend only
Our
through
universe.
Our universe until we get Havona. Now, when we become finalitors, we have to serve in all 7 of the
Yeah.
super universes.
Another question, one more question.
Yeah.
Now, Grand Fonda, y'all call out. He's, I read somewhere where he might be chief of the
He's chief of the
final.
core of finality. Yeah, because he was the very
He was
first one. Yeah, so he's in, chief of all the finalitors.
So hopefully he'll be our boss someday.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll get to meet him sometime. Okay.
We have a lot of promotions to go through.
Okay. All right, and so the Michael sons and the Avonal sons follow this practice, right? In these bestowals. All right. So that's what they're talking about here. Okay. Can we take the next one?
When the Eternal Son bestows a Creator Son upon a projected local universe, that Creator Son assumes full responsibility for the completion, control, and composure of that new universe, including the solemn oath to the Eternal Trinity not to assume full sovereignty of the new creation until his 7 creature bestowals shall have been successfully completed and certified by the Ancients of Days of the super universe of jurisdiction. This obligation is assumed by every Michael son who volunteers to go out from paradise to engage in universe organization and creation.
So he takes an oath that he will not assume total control until he has finished his process, right? Now, this is an oath, and this is a free will universe. Can he just assume control? He can't.
He can, but then he's going
It's
against
never
the
been
Father.
done, though. That's right, because he's going against the Father. That's right. Now, if he did, and it states this in the book in another place, if he did assume full control before he finishes these 7
Some of the
bestowals,
beings, stationary beings, would leave. Some of
they
the
would leave.
hierarchy.
All the hierarchy of God the Father would leave that universe.
Yep.
Because they're not within the will of God any
Exactly.
longer. So, if that happened, what would that be? That
Rebellion.
would be rebellion.
Like
Right.
Lucifer.
Just like Lucifer, right? And the question is, what would happen? They don't know. No one's ever done that.
Thank
See,
God.
the Creator sons are smart enough to know you don't go against the will of God, right?
Have patience.
But they have free will. That's why they talk here about an oath. That's the whole point of this oath thing. When you take the oath, you say, I will follow the directions. This is my course. I am acting in lieu of who? The Son of God, right? So they are the representative of the Son of God, are they not? The Son of God is the representative of who? The Trinity. The Trinity is the representative of who? God the Father, right? So what is this? This is the line of deity, right? Okay, so y'all understand that. All right, and they have to go by this until they're certified by the Ancients of Days. They're at the head of, they're in universe at the head of each super universe. There's 3 of them at each one, right? So they have to certify this is done properly. Okay? Now who's the Ancients of Days? They are part of the 7 creators of the universe, right? And we're going to go through that a little bit later in the morning. Okay, so let's keep going. All right. Can you take the next one?
The purpose of these creature incarnations is to enable such creators to become wise, sympathetic, just, and understanding sovereigns, These divine sons are innately just, but they become understandingly merciful as a result of these successive bestowal experiences. They are naturally merciful, but these experiences make them merciful in new and additional ways. These bestowals are the last steps in their education and training for the sublime tasks of ruling the local universes in divine righteousness and by just judgment.
So they're created with these attributes of justice and mercy, right? But these bestowals create in them a new experiential part of those attributes, doesn't it? Because if you've been through it, you can relate better.
They get to practice what they preach.
They get to practice what they preach. That's right, Rodney. They do. What a wonderful concept, isn't it? Okay. Rodney, or Roy, you gonna take the next one?
Through numerous incidental benefits accrued to the various worlds, system, and constellation, as well as to the different orders of universe intelligence affected and benefited by these bestowals. Still, they are primarily designed to complete the personal training and the universe education of a Creator Son himself. These bestowals are not essential to the wise, just, and efficient management of a local universe, but they are absolutely necessary to a fair, merciful, and understanding administration of such a creation. Teeming with all various forms of life and its merit of intelligent but imperfect creatures.
Okay, so this is not a necessity for them, but it's a necessity for the fair and merciful understanding and administration of the universe, right? So they already have these innate qualities, but they expand these innate qualities by becoming just exactly like we are, right? Nothing like experience. That's why we have to go through all these struggles. This is really, you know, when you think about this paper and this whole process that Jesus went through is more for our benefit than it was for him, because it teaches us the importance of what we're doing here. It's only by this experience that we go through that we grow. So when we get to that first mentioned world, we will hopefully have gotten some of this fair, merciful, and understanding down too, right?
Well, we're supposed to achieve that here. We're going
We're
from the
supposed to-
bottom up.
That's right.
They're already perfect, so they have to come down and understand
That's right.
what it's like to be finite and imperfect and to have these obstacles and challenges.
That's right.
Confusion.
Yeah. Well, and that's why they call them the descending sons of
Right.
God, right? And what are we? We're the
Ascending.
ascending
Hopefully.
sons of God, right? If we do it right. Yeah. Hopefully, if we do it right.
So many people like to stay stationary.
That's right. They do. Oh yeah. Did you catch that? The Michael sons.
It's the one at the bottom, yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Here. Hit that one right there. That means something else. Okay? I keep doing that. All right. Who's next?
Rodney.
Rodney, you're up.
All right. Excuse me. The Michael sons begin their work of universe organization with a full and just sympathy for the various orders of beings whom they have created. They have vast stores of mercy for all these differing creatures, even pity for those who err and flounder in the selfish mire of their own production. But such endowments of justice and righteousness will not suffice in the estimate of the ancients of days. These triune rulers of the super-universes will never certify the Creator Son as a universe sovereign until he has really acquired the viewpoint of his own creatures by actual experience in the environment of their existence and as these very creatures themselves. In this way, such sons become intelligent and understanding rulers They come to know the various groups over which they rule and exercise universe authority. By living experience, they possess themselves of practical mercy, fair judgment, and the patience born of experiential creature existence.
Okay. I love this sentence in here. It says, they have vast stores of mercy for all these different creatures, even pity for those who err and flounder in selfish mire of their own production.
So we said that to people that are, you know,
Yeah.
going up their lives. You're
Really?
floundering in selfish mire.
Selfish
You're
mire.
You know, one thing about that though is when I started reading this, you know,
like out of the ball.
mercy and grace and stuff like that. I used to always think that, you know, when you look at a person, you see they're doing something willingly wrong, and I really had to make that adjustment from, looking at people that way, because it talk about judgment and judge not lest you be judged.
Yeah.
But even though I didn't think I was sitting in judgment, but I had to rethink that whole process of how everybody live, and it said just with a flicker of faith, a flicker.
Flicker of faith. That's right. That's all it takes to survive. A flicker of faith.
So what's his name?
And that's why they use.
The German guy.
Geo?
No, the dictator, the
Oh,
German.
Hitler.
Hitler. You know, Mike.
He might be in the
Why are you
mention
pointing
roles.
at
We
me?
don't know.
No, I was just trying
I
to.
don't know him.
I was
He
just
was
trying.
bad.
Huh? He was bad, but it says a flicker, and that's what you got to grasp. That a flicker. It doesn't. So you could. It doesn't mean you could be doing anything, but if you got some kind of faith, think about the people in the world that are doing all the things they're doing right now. That doesn't mean they don't have any faith.
That's true. That's true. That's why you can't
Lost and
judge.
confused.
Exactly.
And that's why they use this term pity, because that's what you have to feel for them, because it's their lack of understanding of their mission of life.
Right.
If you think about it, when you have someone that's floundering around in sin and evilness and all
Exactly.
these things,
Drowning
and
their lives. And
yeah, you have to pity them because they have a lack of understanding joys of living a godly life. That's the difference.
Right.
They have lost out on the whole purpose of life and all the benefits. When Jesus talks later on in these papers about having life and having it more abundantly, that's what he means. It's not you got more things, he's talking about the joy of a spiritual life and that communion with God throughout your life. It's the greatest joy you experience in this life. We think the greatest experience we have in this life are our kids and our loved ones and all this. It's not. It's the joy of that relationship with God. That's a benefit of that joy, that relationship with God, not the other way around. People say, well, I enjoy my family and that's the most important thing. Actually, it's just the opposite. You get your family from God and you share that family into your existing family, right? So that's that having life and have it more abundantly. That's also that well springs of faith that comes from inside you.
the living waters.
The living waters, right? That's what he's talking about. And this is what that's what they're talking about here. The pity for those who err and flounder, right? And that's really what we have to feel from. We can't judge them. We're not in the position to judge. Who does the judging? The Ancients of Days. Who judged Michael for his mission? The Ancients of Days. He went through the same judgment as we did for him fulfilling his mission as a creator son, right?
Except more is expected of him.
So more expected of him. So, as he is our example, should we not try to do it as well as we can to get it as close to him as possible?
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
Later on in the papers when Jesus is talking to the apostles, he tells them, of course I'm paraphrasing, he says, you cannot judge because you don't have the ability to judge the heart.
Right.
However, you are to judge by their fruits. You will know them by their fruits, by their spiritual fruits, not by their social
Not by their.
fruits.
That's right. That's
By
right.
their spiritual fruits. And so there is an aspect of judgment that we are called to do. We are called to judge people by their fruits.
But that's a
fruits of the
spiritual
Spirit.
judgment rather
Yeah,
than a.
I think
than-
it's heightened awareness. I think we have a responsibility to be aware. And with that, the observation of others, you know, we recognize the fruits of other people, but it's through observation. And it is through awareness. We can't deny that. Try to pretend we don't see things that we see.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. We do, and you know, you can't just set those judgments aside. You know, no matter how you try to, we all
Because
do.
that's how deception
That's-
creeps in.
That's right.
when
that's
you
right.
when you don't discern properly.
Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
right.
That's how you're
exactly.
deceived.
And that's how
And this is,
Lucifer
this is the,
rebellions.
that's
Yes,
right. And this is
Exactly.
the danger, and this is why I brought
Exactly.
this up.
Yeah.
That's why this is critical to understand this. We
Yeah.
can't judge the heart. We're not capable of
No.
doing
But
that.
we do have to discern.
That's
We have
right.
to discern. We have
We
to
have to
act with
discern
wisdom.
because
That's why Jesus told all those
it's
parables
all about
the
letting
fruits.
who you let in your spirit. Discerning.
Yeah, that's
If
right.
you don't discern that the nature of that person, then that person could throw you off track.
That's right.
However.
Yeah. Think
So
of
they
it
could
this-
be saying one thing
Exactly.
and doing
Doing
something,
something
else.
else.
Exactly. So
There's
you
a
have to
whole
be
lot of hypocritical people in there.
Right.
exactly. So you have to be a discerner.
That's right.
And also involved in that is association with those people.
That's
Think about
right.
that.
Who do
If
you associate with?
who you associate with. If you associate with people that's involved in evil and sin and all this stuff
Exactly.
constantly, do you not think that creeps into your life? Of course it
Exactly.
does. You know,
Exactly.
it's a lot easier for the evil to creep into your life than the good from your life to creep
Exactly.
into them.
Yes.
Exactly.
We have to make a concerted effort for our goodness to overrule the evil.
Exactly.
Right? So it's that discerning
Exactly.
thing. But that's what they're talking about here too, is this pity and selfish mire, right? I mean, you think about that. Selfish mire of their own production. They're talking about, you know what mire is?
That's what a pig is in.
It's what a pig is in.
That's
They're up
exactly
to
what
their
that
neck
is.
in filth,
That's right.
right? So what they're talking about here, these people are floundering in filth, is what they're doing. That's a strong term.
Yes, it is.
You think about it.
Yes, it is.
You know, and so that we have to be really careful.
Following their own evil thoughts.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Hey, Roger, I've got a comment.
Yes, go ahead.
You know, judgment involves comparison, comparing one to another,
Uh-huh.
which if you do that, it leads to pride.
That's right.
And
Pridefulness.
pride is
Uh-huh.
a sin that we don't want to tangle with.
That's right. That's true. So there's a fine line to walk down there, isn't there?
We have to be careful.
Very, very careful. Fine line. That's right. Okay. Next one, the local University of Lebanon. Who's read last? Rodney? Okay. Lynn?
My turn.
Linda, your turn.
The local universe of Nebadon is now ruled by a creator son who has completed his service of bestowal. He reigns in just and merciful supremacy over all the vast realms of his evolving and perfecting universe. Michael of Nebadon is the 611,121st bestowal of the eternal Son upon the universes of time and space, and he began the organization of your local universe about 400 billion years ago. Michael made ready for his first bestowal adventure about the time Urantia was taking on its present form 1 billion years ago. His bestowals have occurred about 150 million years apart, the last taking place on Urantia 1900 years ago. I will now proceed to unfold the nature and character of these bestowals as fully as my commission permits.
Okay, there's a bunch in this paragraph. Okay. First, we're ruled by a creator son who has finished his bestowal completely, right? In rules and just and merciful supremacy, he is our God as far as we're concerned, right? He is our God incarnate. He's the 611,121st bestowal son, and he began his organization in the local universe about 400 billion years ago. That's a long time ago.
Yeah, 400.
400 billion years ago, he started the organization of our local universe. So has he been around for a little while?
It's been a while.
Been a while. Yeah. Think he's got a little bit of wisdom?
Yeah, I think I'd say it's like 14 or so billion years since the Big Bang.
Yeah. So that's about, what, 300 something billion years
Yeah.
before they conceived of the Big Bang?
The Urantia Book has
Yeah.
a pulsating universe where we're pervaded and unpervaded.
We know the Big
so
Bang
it's happened
is
more than
fallacy.
once.
Yeah, we
Right.
already know that the Big Bang is fallacy, right? But that concept, we're talking about 400 billion years. This is way beyond they even conceived of the time they conceived of
Best
us.
things happen.
Yeah, exactly. We know that there's a 2 billion year universe respiration, right? It goes
Right.
out and comes in,
Right.
And we just happen to be out on
And
the
we
out
was a baby.
cycle.
We were a baby in one of those pulsations.
We're still going the same direction. We will be going the same direction probably till we get way past the mansion worlds, right? And then some, if you think about it. So that 2 billion year pulsation is a long time, right? Okay, and let's go on. He made his first bestowal as Melchizedek's son about a billion years ago, about when Urantia was first taking on its present form, right? So what does that mean? That means that's before all the five or six glaciers we had. It was before all the dinosaurs. It was before all the amoeba came out of the ocean. It was before all of that. It was before we were even conceived as a planet. We weren't even a sanctioned planet.
It was a gaseous form.
It was a big rock that was cooling down, basically. Going through it. Yeah. And so that's a long, long time ago. Okay? And it talks about 150 million years apart. He's done one every 150 million years. And we just happen to be born after his 2,000 years after, 1,900 years after his very last one. So we weren't even created as people, us, when he's.
So you wonder what will happen in another 150 million years.
Yeah. You never know, right? Okay, let's go on to the next one. Let me show you another slide here. Hang on. Okay, this is the 7 bestowals of Jesus. Okay? Let me have that one for a second. Let me point these out to you. Okay, so this is the very first here as a Melchizedek, right? And this was done on the Melchizedek world, the pilot world. His second one is Lenonandek's son, was on the capital of Polonia, System 11, Constellation 37. Now these are all places that he created, wasn't it? Every single one of them.
So that Lenonandek's son there on Polonia had to have defaulted in order for Michael to have done that. He had to have, or else why would he have to go there?
Yeah,
Because
that's why he chose that.
there'd already be one there.
Yeah.
Temporary.
It was a temporary son, that's right.
And the
3
same here.
Yeah, the material sun, the same thing.
Same
Headquarter
thing.
World System 87.
They had to have
Constellation
defaulted.
61. Now the Supreme Seraphim, he could act in many functions. And this was on World 462, System 84, Constellation 3. Okay? And then he was Ascendant Pilgrim. His name was Evantod. Okay? And this was on Uversa. That's our system capital, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And then the 6th one was as a Urantia mortal. Okay, on the 6th Urantia world. And this, he was named Endantum, and this was the headquarter planet of Constellation 5. Okay? And the last one we know about, Jesus of Nazareth, right here. Right? And that's his 7 bestowals.
You sent us these slides, didn't you?
I did.
I like this one. This is good.
Yeah.
Come to download them.
You could also, let me also mention this for the folks that live with us at home. You can download these slides underneath the video. They're always underneath the video wherever you watch it. So they will be on the website. And I've also sent it out on the notice to y'all. On the notice I sent out this week, there's a link to download them there too.
Apparently you gotta have 2007 Microsoft.
No, you can download the viewer. There's a viewer underneath it too. You can download the viewer. It'll install the viewer, so you can't edit it, but you can go through and view all of them. Okay.
So Michael's had a lot of experience with rebellion. He
had
replaced
bunch
a rebellious Lenanon deck and a rebellious Material Sun.
That's right, he did. So he's got lots of experience with the rebellion. Why do you think he came to our planet? You know?
We had to be the worst of the
place
worst.
in the whole place.
Yeah, I think we're number 3 of being the worst.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I think it was like
We
something like there was only 2 other planets that were worse off than we were.
So you wonder why he came here if there was 2 worse ones.
Probably because he was ready to do his bestowal, and we had progressed as a planet.
To the stage where
They were
To
even
the
worse.
stage where he
Yeah,
Right.
because I remember reading somewhere where it said, reading why the Hebrews, those people were chosen is because they had that basic foundation.
the concept of God. God.
Yeah. Where he could come in, and so that's what I was wondering why we chose.
Yeah, and see, we're missing the part that comes before this about Melchizedek. You know, the concept of God before Melchizedek came 1900 years before this,
Yep.
right? As
Yep.
his incarnation. And the reason he came is the flicker of the concept of one God was almost extinguished.
Yep.
It was almost gone.
Yep.
So that's why Melchizedek had an emergency bestowal.
Yep.
Okay, so our third epical revelation God was an emergency one. It wasn't a planned one. They didn't plan that one. It was an emergency. They sent him down as an emergency to keep the flicker of God alive so that they could set the stage. By that time, he had already chosen earth. And so they setting the stage for Christ to come. And who took that flicker and kept it alive? The Jews did, right? That's why they were the chosen people. They took that flicker of the concept of God and kept it alive. And so that's why he was born into a Jewish family. Okay? That's why they were considered the what?
Chosen people.
They became
chosen.
ethnocentric.
That's right.
They came with that?
Ethnocentric.
Okay.
Meaning my group's better than your group.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The pride of humans, right?
Gentiles weren't worthy.
Yeah.
You know, and
It's,
another,
what do they call that? It's the me syndrome, right? It's the same syndrome that Lucifer took up, right? He got the
Self-pride.
big head, right? He think, oh, I'm number one. People should be worshiping me. Why are they worshiping him? You know, they should
It's
be
interesting
worshiping
how
me.
they missed the part that they missed Jesus, and you know,
Yeah.
so they're no longer the chosen people. So somehow they missed that part.
Yeah.
Well, they don't have a thought adjuster, so they don't have that spark of God with them all the time saying, hey, straighten up. I mean, I assume he's adjusting us.
Mhm.
I asked for adjustments.
We have such an advantage. It's unbelievable
Right.
because
Go
on
chiropractor.
Pentecost, when the Spirit of Truth was poured out, all men received thought adjusters, right? All men, not just the
Well,
chosen
you
people.
wouldn't know that from looking at
You
them.
wouldn't know it by looking at us. All of us at 5.5, we get an adjuster now, or around there. You know,
Yep.
all of us. Now, whether you
That make a
use
moral
that,
decision.
when you make that first
So
moral
I
decision.
wonder what the percentage of people are that don't make that decision.
Yep.
You just
All
assume
of
that
them.
most
That
of
time.
All
us
of them do.
are.
All of them do. The difference is you don't have to listen to anything. Your
Exactly. And that's what most of us do. We don't listen.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
too busy
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah.
Because we get caught up in everything that we do.
Now, what does that thought adjuster do, though? It gives that thought adjuster experience of barbarianism, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when that thought adjuster goes to the next person, he's passed on because he's not used, right? He becomes what? He becomes an experience. He's no longer a virgin adjuster, right?
Recycled.
So he gets put into another human being. It's not wasted. There's nothing
Experience
wasted.
more frustration.
They experience more frustration with somebody else that's stupid. That's right.
Erring and floundering.
Erring and
It's the mire
floundering.
of their
That's right.
creation.
That's right. Oh, how we torture our thought adjusters. Okay, let's try to get to the first bestowal. Okay, who read last?
Sunday.
Okay.
It was a solemn occasion on Salvington, almost 1 billion years ago, when the assembled directors and chiefs of the universe of Nebadon heard Michael announce that his elder brother Emmanuel would presently assume authority in Nebadon, while he, Michael, would be absent on an unexplained mission. No other announcement was made about this transaction except that the farewell broadcast of the Consolation Fathers, among other instructions, said, "And for this period I place you under the care and keeping of Emmanuel while I go to do the bidding of my Paradise Father."
Okay, so can you imagine this in an assembly of all these beings? All he does is announce that I'm going to be absent, and my elder brother Emmanuel will take over, like he had many times before, right? So everybody knew he was going for his final bestowal, right?
Well, first
or,
bestowal.
or his first bestowal, right?
Right.
Yeah, when he did this.
I don't
right?
know why it was solemn occasionally, because it seemed like that would
Well, because they would miss him for
They'd
that
miss
period
him.
of time he
Yeah.
was gone, because everybody already loved him as a ruler of the universe,
right.
right? And they're thinking, he's going to be gone. He's going to take care of things.
Emmanuel will be.
Emmanuel will be there. But okay, so this is they're setting the stage, right? Okay, so let's keep going. Diane, we'll take the next one.
After sending this farewell broadcast, Michael appeared on the dispatching field of Salvington, just as on many previous occasions when preparing for departure to Uversa or Paradise, except that he came alone. He concluded his statement of departure with these words, "I leave you but for a short season. Many of you I know would go with me, but whither I go you cannot come. That which I am about to do you cannot do. I go to do the will of the Paradise deities. And when I have finished my mission and acquired this experience, I will return to my place among you." And having thus spoken, Michael of Nebadon vanished from the sight of all those assembled, and did not reappear for 20 years of standard time. In all Salvington, only the divine minister and Emmanuel knew what was taking place, and the Union of Days shared his secret only with the chief executive of the universe, Gabriel, the bright and morning star.
Okay, so we're on Salvington, and there's a sea of glass, right? This huge 100-mile flat surface that's totally reflective, right? As far as you can see for 100 miles. And Jesus, Michael, walks out onto it, and he's gone, just like that.
So when he departed to go to either Uversa or Paradise, other beings went with him to do that, but this time he was by himself.
He was by himself. Did he need to transport seraphim? No. Why? Because he's the creator of the universe. Earn space. He
He's already
needs
been
no
there,
one.
done that.
That's right. He needs no one to transport him, right? He transports himself
So why did other beings go with him to Uversa and Paradise?
to experience it with him.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
Got it?
Roger, that was a question I had as well. What other beings usually attended him?
Okay, we're going to find out in the bestowal to Earth who went with him. You remember? Gabriel.
Yeah, and he had a whole host of angels.
He had a whole
Watching
host of
over.
beings to attend him if need be, right?
Well, what I mean is, he would go to Uversa and Paradise, so no big deal. I was just wondering who usually would go with him.
Well, normally no one would go with him unless there was some reason he would want to someone to accompany him. Okay, and that's what he's talking about. I know you would accompany me. There's many times he would leave Salvington to go to different planets and do administrative things and that sort of. And of course, when he'd do that, he'd probably take a whole staff of people with him, right?
Right.
But this time he went alone, which was unusual. That's what's so strange about this. See, normally a creator son, if he would leave Salvington, his headquarters, to go to some part of his local universe, don't you think he would take angels, administrative people, everyone that needed to be there to do the specific functions that he needed done, right? I mean,
So like the president does when he goes to
like a
foreign-
president does. Like even a creator son, if he's going to go to a different universe and want to make some physical change, who would he take? He would take master physical controllers, architects, things like that, right? Because he
Right.
don't physically do that himself. He assigns that done. Even though he's capable of that, he delegates authority to have these things done. You remember the miracle of changing the water to the wine?
Yeah,
Who did that?
the angelic spirits.
The angelic spirit, the master physical controllers. There was a whole mirage of beings active when that happened. Whatever a creator son wills, what happens, right?
Yeah.
So as soon as he wills that, boom, it's put into production, right? And that's the sort of beings that he would take with him if he was going to a different planet, right? Or doing some other function. But this is strange. He walks out and he says, I'm going to be gone for a while, and he goes by himself. So that's unusual. You know, so now y'all have the picture. You can visualize it, right? He walks out on the sea of glass and he disappears. Okay. Does this help to go through this way? Okay. Your next step is
Me.
oh,
What is the first bestowal?
yeah, all the inhabitants of Salington.
Okay, I lost my.
Uh,
Okay, I got you.
119, 130.
All inhabitants of Salvaton and those dwelling on the constellations and system headquarter world assemble about their respective receiving stations for universe intelligence, hoping to get some word of the missions and whereabouts of the Creator Son. Not until the third day after Michael's departure was any message of possible significance received. On this day, a communication was registered on Salvaton from the Melchizedek sphere, the headquarters of that order in Nebadon, which simply recorded this extraordinary and never before heard of transaction. At noon today, there appeared on the receiving fields of this world a strange Melchizedek son, not of our numbers, but holy, like our order. He was accompanied by a solitary
Omniafin.
Omniafin who bore credentials from Uversa and presented orders addressed to our chief. Derived
Derived from the Ancients of Days.
Derived from the Ancients of Days and concurred in by Emmanuel Sabaton, directed that this new Melchizedek son be received into our orders and assigned to the emergency service of the Melchizedeks of Nebadon. And it has been so ordered. It has been done.
Okay, let me restart the video here because I'm going to fix it run out. Okay, so
So that was an emergency bestowal as well.
all of them really are, if you think about it. Okay, so we have a bunch of beings standing around receiving stations. Okay, what do you think that is? It's like a broadcast station, right? It's just like we were standing around screens like this.
CNN.
CNN. For broadcasts from all over the local universe, right? Because nothing is held back once you're out of quarantine, right? Any planet you go on, these broadcasts go on constantly. So this is what's happening. It is known from the broadcast that the Creator Son went off on this mysterious mission, right? And they heard nothing until 3 days later, and then this broadcast comes through over the station, right? Does that make sense? So now you can visualize everybody sitting around, what's our Creator Son doing? You know, they keep us informed, you know. And then he shows up, you know. This strange Melchizedek son shows up with Omniafim. They all know what that is, okay? And we're going to study that a little bit later. With orders from the Uversa, the Ancients of Days in Uversa. That's pretty high up, right? And assigning him to this planet, right, as an emergency service as Melchizedek's son, right? So we know where he's going. All right, so.
So, when did the Omniafim accompany him?
He probably joined him en route.
En route, okay.
Yeah, more than likely. That's probably.
You had to have someone to present the credentials.
That's right. That's right. Okay.
Because he
And
didn't leave Salvington with him.
that's right. That's right. Okay, so we're talking about this bestowal right here, right? The very first one. Okay, and you'll notice here, I want to point something out as we go through these things. See how this looks like a big M? Melchizedek. Look at this one. It looks like an L, doesn't it? Lenonendek's son. Okay. This icon means material son. This one is for supreme seraphim. You see that? Looks like an angel, right? This is for ascendant pilgrim. You notice how it looks like a little lady or a little man with long hair? And the same thing with the Urantia mortal. Okay? And what? The finite being. Because see, these are
Coloring is changed, like
a
darker.
little bit different, but these are all along the same
That's
type of
interesting. It
being.
got darker.
Yeah.
Oh, it got lighter.
Got lighter as you go across.
But as you get to Urantia, it gets darker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay?
It's a little
So I wanted to
beam.
point that out to you, so when you see those icons, you'll know kind of what they are. All right? All right, let's keep going. We have, how much do we have left on this one?
Three
No,
paragraphs?
yeah, 3 paragraphs.
Y'all want to finish this section? Or you want to quit? Because I said I'd quit exactly at noon.
We should save that one.
Okay, let's quit at noon, and we will start on,
Two.
can you, huh?
2.
Yeah, it's 2, not noon.
Two, yeah. I tell you what, this really has 3 paragraphs left. I really kind of like to finish this through. Is that okay with everybody?
It's fine with me.
Yeah, everybody good with that? Okay, and that way we got a good quitting place. Okay, so who's next to read? Rodney? Rodney, would you read this next?
Yes, I will. And this is about all that appears on the records of Salvington regarding the first Michael Bestowal. Nothing more appears until after 100 years of Urantia time, when there was reported the fact of Michael's return and unannounced resumption of the direction of universe affairs. But a strange record is to be found on the Melchizedek world, a recital of the service of this unique Melchizedek son of the emergency corps of that age. This record is preserved in a simple temple which now occupies the foreground of the home of the father Melchizedek, and it comprises the narration of the service of this transitory Melchizedek son in connection with his assignment to the 24 missions of universe emergency. And this record, which I have so recently reviewed, ends thus.
Go ahead and read the next one too, Rodney, so it's consistent.
Quote, and at noon on this day, without previous announcement and witnessed by only 3 of our brotherhood, this visiting son of our order disappeared from our world as he came, accompanied only by a solitary army of them. And this record is now closed with the certification that this visitor lived as a Melchizedek. In the likeness of a Melchizedek, he worked as a Melchizedek, and he faithfully performed all of his assignments as an emergency son of our order. By universal consent, he has become chief of Melchizedeks, having earned our love and adoration by his matchless wisdom, supreme love, and superb devotion to duty. He loved us, understood us, and served with us, and forever we are his loyal and devoted fellow Melchizedeks. For this stranger on our world has now eternally become a universal minister of Melchizedek nature.
Okay, so when he joined them as a Melchizedek, his service was so impressive that they unanimously assigned him chief or head of all the Melchizedeks. You know, that's our Creator Son. I want to back up.
This is where that Bible verse comes from in the book of Hebrews. You're a priest forever
You're a
after the
priest
order
after
of
the
Melchizedek.
order of Melchizedek. Very good.
That's where this comes from.
That's right. Okay, and this is a illustration, it was, of what we're talking about here. See, the strange Melchizedek talks about here on the top. This is
So Roger, 1 billion years ago, what does that coincide with? Does that? I'm just curious. Does that coincide with the rebellion?
No. The
doesn't?
rebellion was 200,000 years ago.
Okay, so
already.
this was way before that.
This is way before that.
Okay.
Way before
Okay.
that. Yeah, and there's something else I wanted to point out here. Let me see if I can find it again. The other thing I wanted to point out, after he left, it says 100 years of Urantia time. Did you catch that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it said in the previous paragraph,
20 years.
20 years. What's the difference? One was Uversa time and the other's Urantia time.
So now we know the comparison.
That's right. There's a comparison right there. Also,
5 times.
that's right, 5 times. And this is a representation of the Melchizedek and the Omnisphere up here. And see the Melchizedek pilot world, and this is what they're talking about right here.
So are we supposed to assume from this or infer from this that there was some kind of a rebellion going on here on the Melchizedek sphere?
Not necessarily. You know, Melchizedek, remember, came to our world because of
lost.
our lack of God, right? The spark of God disappearing, right? And so this represents the type of work the Melchizedeks do. There's 12 assigned to a planet, when new planets here, right? For a period of time till the Adam and Eve takes over, right? So he may have been one of 12 that went to a planet in this period of time and worked with these people. And their struggle from their Caligastia 100 trying to convert the barbarians to a more civilized world before the Adam and Eve got there. So his work may have been part of that. We don't know. It could have been more administrative type of Melchizedek work. The Melchizedek teaches us as in the schools when we get to the mansion worlds. He could have worked as an administrator, as a teacher on the mansion worlds. Whatever it was he did, he earned the respect of all Melchizedek, so it was pretty important, whatever it is. That's why they say the record is encased in a temple on the Father Melchizedek's world. So it must be pretty impressive for them to have done that forevermore.
Place we
I
should
got
go
a
visit
question.
someday.
What
That's
about
right.
You keep mentioning the Caligastica 100. What is that?
That was the first group of that's the group,
Princess Planetary Staff.
the planetary princess staff that come from our local system capital. And they come to help train barbarian people into becoming more civilized and get this was during the Lucifer Rebellion.
Okay,
right?
that was my next question.
The Caligastia was a faithful ruler of this planet for 250,000 years. And then when Lucifer went into rebellion, he followed him into rebellion. And that was, see, they first came 500,000 years ago. After 250,000 years, they rebelled. 40 of the Caligastia 100 remained faithful, and the other 60 rebelled. So,
Oh, excuse me.
So-
yeah, go ahead.
so that was 250,000 years ago when they rebelled.
Okay, I got a book too called The Lost Books of the Bible.
I have that too.
And I haven't gotten to read it, but in it talks about this 100 and a leader and how they taught the human race different techniques with metal and I just began to read it. And
That's exactly what we're talking about here.
Oh, okay.
That's exactly what we're talking about with the Caligastia.
They try to teach people and help them get civilized. First
Yeah.
the planetary prince, and then the material son and daughter, the Adam and Eve, help to lift us up biologically and spiritually,
Yeah.
and level of culture and civilization.
Right.
And then
This is all part of the normal process of bringing a planet along. We have never been to the point where we are not administered properly. This is part of the administration of worlds. They let us do as much as humanly possible we can ourselves. They try to help us along, but these are the processes to give us the tools we need to progress. Really, they could. It's just like when we talk about Christ. If Christ chose to, he could appear before every human being at the same time. Okay, to us and say, "I am Christ. I am your God. I am the Lord of this universe." Straighten up.
Grow up.
But they choose not to do. That's not the way they do things. They let us fumble along and try to discover our own thing. That's part of the experiential things that we learn by being on this planet. So if he did that, it would short circuit the plan. The Father's plan is what? For us to find him on our own. That's the whole ball of wax. So all this struggling we're doing, all these problems we have, that's all within God's will, because that we go through these so that we develop understanding, we develop mercy and pity and all these things for ourselves. We don't have to have somebody teach them to us, we develop them. Right?
But there is a natural progression.
There's a natural progression
of planetary evolution.
Yes.
And we fell at it with the Adamic.
Yeah, and Adam and Eve, that added to it. But we will reach light and life. That's going to happen.
Right.
The question is, how much are we going to destroy each other and the
Before we
planet on
get
the
there.
process before we start waking
Exactly.
up? That's the
Exactly.
scary part.
Yeah.
And we make those decisions.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get this last paragraph and we'll knock off.
Is that me?
Yeah.
Okay. And that is all I am permitted to tell you of the first bestowal of Michael. We, of course, fully understand that this strange Melchizedek, who so mysteriously served with the Melchizedeks 1 billion years ago, was none other than the incarnated Michael on the mission of his first bestowal. The records do not specifically state that this unique and efficient Melchizedek was Michael, but it is universally believed that he was. Probably the actual statement of fact cannot be found outside of the records of Stonarrington, and the records of that secret world are not open to us. Only on this sacred world of the divine sons are the mysteries of incarnation and bestowal fully known. We all know of the facts of the Michael bestowals, but we do not understand how they are effected. We do not know how the ruler of a universe, the creator of the Melchizedeks, can so suddenly and mysteriously become one of their number and, as one of them, live among them and work as a Melchizedek son for 100 years, but it so happened.
Okay, now Samaritans is the world of the Creator sons, right? So only they are allowed to go there. Okay, so that's what they're talking about, the records of Samaritan, and that is not open to anyone except for a Creator son. Okay.
And is
Just
that
like
in
the finale
Havana,
book. Huh?
or is that where?
No, that is in Havana, or well, it's one of the worlds surrounding
Right.
paradise. It's the
Paradise.
sun's world. It's one of the sun's world surrounding paradise. Right. Okay. So that's how. That's it. This is how it happened. This is Gavalia telling us the story about the first bestowal, right? And we'll take up the second bestowal next time. Let's say a little prayer and we'll break for the day and I'll stop the video. Would you like to close this today?
Heavenly Father, thank you for knowledge gained. Thank you for new interpretations of your word. Thank you for friends to share with. Thank you for all that you do for us every day. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. See you all next time. Let me stop the video here. Thank you for joining us.
Have a good day, Rodney.
See you later, Rod.
Bye, Rodney. I don't think he's putting him off yet.